Khatib. You're the spokesperson for Samidoun, one of the founders also. You're a Palestinian refugee living in Belgium. Let's start with that.
I left Lebanon as a political refugee. I couldn't stay for security reasons. In Lebanon, then I was pushed to Turkey. I did the same path as any migrant from Turkey to Greece at that time. I couldn't stay in Greece because there was no even asylum service where you can apply for asylum and so on. I was lucky that met in my childhood in the camp from the international delegations we are speaking about great comrades that they were some of them were from Belgium uh, and they welcomed me in Brussels and they took care of me, let's say.
Mm. Is that when you founded or co-founded Samidoun?
Exactly, a year after I participated in the co-foundation of Samidoun as a solidarity network with the Palestinian political prisoner.
Samidoun, it means steadfast something. Is that similar to Sumud? Is that the same?
Yes, it's from the same concept, Sumud and Samidoun. Samidoun's statement that we are steadfast. Sumud is the...
Like the convoy, which is now.
Yes, exactly. And it's a term that is used a lot also within the Palestinian uh, political prisoners national movement. Sumud, and it's a very important.
Because that's what Samidoun does, is to take up the struggle for political prisoners in Israel, Palestinian political prisoners.
Definitely, yes. We advocate for the liberation of all Palestinian prisoners, political or non-political. We advocate to dismantle those system of imprisonment in Palestine. We don't participate in any legal aid, or we don't recognize the legitimacy of the Zionist Israeli military courts against the Palestinian political prisoners. We recognize the Palestinian political prisoners movement as the leadership of the Palestinian National Liberation Movement. They are the one who participated and led in the building the Palestinian Revolution, participated in First Intifada, Second Intifada. Until today, they are the one who are managing every hospital and school and cultural centers. They are represented in the student movement. The Palestinian woman is part of the political prisoners movement. Children today are part of the Palestinian political prisoners movement. So the prisoners and the daily confrontation in prison, it has a very important contribution to the liberation of Palestine, and it's a very important fact about the daily confrontation with the Zionist entity in a very harsh way. Prisoners face one of the highest level of repression. They are subjected to torture, rape, torture mental and physical, rape, assassination inside the prison, and so on.
But Samidoun is not Amnesty International. It's not about prisoners of conscience.
No, and we will never be. Samidoun is a Palestinian Arab internationalist revolutionary organization. We do believe in the need and necessity of the liberation for those political prisoners to lead us on the path of liberation. We don't see political prisoners as victims. We see them as leaders, as ones who establish and examples of strength and steadfastness and models of struggles. The Palestinian political prisoners movement contributed to our liberation movement in every single sector. Novels writing, posters making, creating every single right the political prisoners movement have inside the prison. It comes with a struggle. If the prisoners today, they have a pillow or a blanket or a sheet, if they eat, if they are able to study, if they are able to read, if they are able to make a sport, this is because of many hunger strikes, many martyrs, many people who sacrificed themselves even within the struggle inside the prisons for more rights and for them to be able to participate in the political struggle. As Samidoun, we never claimed that we managed to liberate a political prisoner. We do believe that this is the role of the Palestinian resistance to liberate the political prisoners, because through this long history of experience of the Palestinian people, we know only through exchange Palestinian political prisoners were freed. Our role is to advocate for them, to make their voice heard, to make them known, to make them not alone, um, to to open the space for them to participate in politics, to be able uh, to be active and to be part of the liberation movement, even behind bars, and to build this connection, because to use our privilege as a network that exists overseas. We exist in Latin America, in North America, in Europe, in the Arab world. And since not only the Palestinian people are fighting against colonialism and Zionism, but also it's not only the Palestinian people who have political prisoners. So our role also as Samidoun to rebuild or to strengthen this connection between the Palestinian political prisoners movement and the international political prisoners movement that exists in Europe and everywhere else.
So it's maybe similar to International Red Help or International Red Aid?
Yeah, we work a lot with comrades also from international that help. And now we are in a period after the 7th of October, after the growth of the Palestinian solidarity movement, but also the role of the Palestinian diaspora in the struggle today. That's why we have political prisoners outside of Palestine. So while we are speaking today in Belgium, there is 4 Palestinian youth who are held in detention center literally because of their activism and their protest every day at the exchange market in the city center at Bourges. In Italy, we have few Palestinian political prisoners who are arrested by a demand from the Zionist state of Israel. In France, we have a lot of cases. George Abdullah was just freed after 45 years. In the United States, there is many Palestinian political prisoners, and I do believe this will escalate more. The more the Palestinian diaspora will be integrated in the struggle, and the more it will play a role in participating again in the liberation project of Palestine, the more repression we face, the more imprisonment we face, and many forms of repression.
When we hear about armed resistance in Palestine, we only hear about Hamas, but obviously there's a lot of other organizations active. For instance, the PFLP, Popular Front for the Liberation of Palestine, founded by George Habash. Can you tell me something about PFLP?
I mean, Palestinians have been taking arm against colonialism and occupation since 36, 37. The Great Palestinian Revolution against British colony in Palestine. This is where women participated, men, many different factions. So if I would name the names of Palestinian factions who took up arms in this path of struggle for 100 years, I think there are more than 50 or 70 different entity and organizations who even contributed in the co-foundation of other organizations. Because when the PFLP was founded in 67, was not founded by one group. The PFLP was a coalition of many different smaller organizations who were doing already armed struggle after 48 until 67. So the PFLP, with many other organizations, they were result of struggle by other smaller entities that managed to form this bigger organization and to announce in 67, 66 the birth of the modern Palestinian revolution. This is where we speak about Fatah, PFLP, PFLP General Command, DFLP, the People's Party, and so on. And then in the time after 70s, 80s, where we had Al-Qassam Brigade, Al-Aqsa Brigade, Saraya Al-Quds Brigade, and so on. Also, those political organizations were established as a response to the defeat of the previous leadership within the PLO led by Arafat. So the PFLP is one of the biggest Palestinian and Arab leftist, progressive, socialist, communist, political organization who come from different lines of heritage of politics and activism, from the pan-Arab movement, anti-colonial movement, that managed to create a change, important change within the Palestinian society, an important transformation uh, also within the Palestinian liberation movement. It was always a progressive and essential and important voice within the PLO and so on. PFLP is not just a political party or an armed brigade. The PFLP represents a political mass movement and an important part of the Palestinian people, as the others does.
It's interesting because the struggle today is being framed as a struggle of Western democratic like Israel against religious fanatics, meaning Hamas. But this is quite new because neither the Zionist movement in the beginning was religious, nor was the Palestinian resistance. That religious connotation is pretty recent, in fact.
I mean, the Palestinian people are also religious people, and we shouldn't deny this. The Palestinian people, as many other people, they have right to practice religion. And the majority of the Palestinian people are Muslims. This is a fact. There is also Palestinian Christians. There is also Palestinian Jewish, who are all represented in the struggle. Today, there is a Palestinian political prisoner. His name is Maher Sadaqa. Maher is a Jewish Palestinian man from Nablus, and he have been in prison for more than 20 or 25 years. We would love if the Jewish anti-Zionist movement internationally also focus about his case as a Jewish Palestinian man, a leader in the Popular Front for Palestine. His brothers are leaders in the DFLP, in the Democratic Front for Palestine, and so on. Of course, the struggle is against Western colonization. This is a fact. Israel represents Western colonization, not Western democracy. We don't see democracy in the streets of Brussels. To see it in Israel, today the Belgian state is arresting poor Palestinians without any legal accusation. They revoked my refugee right because of my political activism. The more the struggle for Palestine is emerging, the more it's growing, the more making those fake states are clear with their image that they are fascist and anti-democratic in a time when most of the European countries are led by fascist far right-wing Zionist Nazi political parties. They dare to speak about democracy. I think even the fanatic groups in the region, they are more democratic than those fascist extremists who always advocated for ethnic cleansing and genocide by practice in Europe against the Jewish people and other population in Africa against the Congolese and Namibian and many others. And they are continue doing the same against the Iraqi people, against the Syrian people, and against the Palestinian people, against the Yemen and Oman. All of our countries was colonized by those so-called democratic states. And if this is the example of democracy that they want us to adopt, even after liberation, we will fight this until the end because we will not accept to turn our societies after all of these years of struggle against fascism and Zionism and racism that to become fascist states in the model of what's called European democracy, that the European democracy and American democracy represented today by Bart de Wever and by Trump. I think the shoes of a fighter in Al-Qassam Brigade or Al-Aqsa Brigade weight and clean much more than those people who should be taken to court and they should face serious justice and they should be in prison, not the Palestinian freedom fighter. Yeah. So, of course, the struggle in Palestine is not religious. The Zionist entity, the Zionist enemy, the Zionist colonial Western white supremacist movement have been doing this to create this religious image using Judaism as a religion to justify what they are doing against the Palestinian people, using every religious sign in the war in Gaza, pray over this destroyed houses, justifying genocide by bringing religious people to please the fighters or whatever. This is a strategy of Western colonies that also we know. It's not only us as Palestinians who are victims to this. They did the same to South Africa was promised land for the Dutch and the British. And this is the same narrative and story they have been using against every people they want to colonize. And they forget that we are in 2025. So new generations and young people don't buy this bullshit anymore.
There's a lot of discussion about Israel taking part in Eurozone or UEFA or other European cultural or social activities. And people are wondering why Israel, because it's not European, it's not in Europe, but it is European.
It is European.
And it was founded, or the Zionist idea came about in the 19th century, where a lot of European states were created, like Belgium, Greece, Germany, Italy. So that's the concept of a nation state that was basically very European. And at the same time, when all these countries were colonial powers, which were the same who in the Security Council recognized Israel as a country because they were themselves colonial powers at that time. So in that sense, Israel is very European also because it's the result of European anti-Semitism and the Holocaust and millennia of suppression of Jews before into the Catholic or Christian tradition, if I may say so. So it's obviously a very European and Anglo-Saxon project nowadays. But you said before, it's not the last European colony, it's not the last European colonial project, because we see it in many different places. And I would like to come back to what you said about the left organizations in the Palestinian struggles, because, for instance, the PFLP is Marxist-Leninist, which is very close to what the Black Panthers originally were, in the sense that they formed a political party on a Marxist-Leninist base as well. And there have been quite some contacts between the two movements and the anti-colonial struggle, because it's very similar. About this anti-colonial struggle, a lot of people also see that it has been going on for almost 100 years concerning Palestine, and they tend to lose hope, or they tend to lose a horizon where it can go, certainly today. But maybe anti-colonial struggles shows that it can be a very, very long and hard and difficult struggle. For instance, Algeria under French occupation.
Yeah, I mean, we have a very important slogan and speech for Comrade George Habash in the 70s. He said, the liberation of Palestine and the struggle against colonialism in Palestine might take 100 years and more. So if anyone with a short breath, they have to step aside and to let us continue this struggle. And from now, if we are in 2025, and if this struggle will take another 100 years, we are willing to continue and to keep organizing and mobilizing and educating our kids and future and communities about our liberation, because our liberation in Palestine means our liberation here or elsewhere. And the struggle for colonialism, of course, might takes a lot of time. This is as the examples you mentioned in South Africa, even though I think even those struggle, still a lot of work should be done and the story is not finished yet. I don't think Algeria is 100% free from French colonialism. I don't think South Africa is 100% free from apartheid South Africa. The United States of America is the biggest colony in the world, and Israel is just a small example of Canada, Australia, New Zealand, and the United States. If Palestine soon is liberated and the Palestinian people manage to get their rights in a free Palestine, from the river to the sea, we should be engaged in the liberation of the United States. We should be engaged in the liberation of Canada. We should be engaged in the liberation of Australia, where the indigenous people and the black people and the migrants who built this country must take their rights back. And this colonies, this system of white supremacy and racism must be abolished and dismantled by all means and shouldn't be accepted. And it will not be accepted. And this is a big proof what we see today in even in the United States, even in Europe. That's why there is a decolonization process. The movement for Palestine is big in Belgium. I do believe this is not only because of sympathy and empathy. This is because there is political and social movement in Belgium are working actively in every sector, climate sector, youth sector, students movement, artist movement, to decolonize Belgium and to decolonize the state we live in and to defeat the far right wing governments that they are supporting Israel. So, as the links between the Belgian state and the EU and the US is very strong with the Zionist state of Israel, our relationship as social movements and mass movements and political organizations who are struggling in many different fronts, we must be united with the Palestinians, with the people in the global south, because any liberation of this community is a liberation of us, and any victory for us here is a victory and a step in the liberation of the others. So our liberation and their liberation here and there is very much connected, as much as our enemy is connected. We know today Israel, the Zionist entity, will not exist or survive for one day without the support from the US and the EU. And this support is logistical, on a military level, and a political level. I think we should do the same to the Palestinians. Why we don't talk with the Palestinian resistance? We should boycott the state of Israel, but we should legitimize and normalize with the Palestinian resistance as they are the official and only representative of the Palestinian people. While we are struggling against stop arming Israel, if we don't manage to do that, people should arm the Palestinians.
Yeah, but what we see happening is there's a lot of mobilizing and growing movements in support of the Palestinian struggle. But what authorities are doing is not boycotting or punishing Israel or the Zionist entity. They are boycotting and terrorizing the solidarity movement. Palestine Action in the UK.
Palestine Action in Belgium.
Yeah, we've seen what happened in Germany. Gruesome and very violent police repression. The same in the United States. And here as well, as you mentioned, your own case, because maybe we should expand a bit. You were a recognized refugee. You had a status. It has been revoked. How did that happen? Because were you in trouble with the law? Any criminal activities? Have you been to tribunal? Anything?
No, never. I was never in any Belgian court. I never had any legal case or crime accusation or whatever. 1.5 years ago, Belgian minister recalled on the asylum service to review my file. Of course, the asylum service did what the minister is asked them to do so, and based on that, they revoked my right of asylum. First of all, regardless of anything, I was born refugee. My both parents were born refugees. So I don't wait from an institution to recognize me as refugees or not. So I don't wait from Theo Franken to say, oh, Mohammed Khatib is not refugee anymore. The only way this statue will be dropped on me is when I go back to Palestine, to free Palestine. When we go back to free Palestine as Palestinian refugees, at this moment, we will not become refugees again, and we will be just Palestinians. What the CGR is doing, this asylum service office in Belgium, or the minister in Belgium, they are literally obeying a demands from their counterpart in the Zionist state of Israel.
Yeah, because you were declared a terrorist in 2015.
Yeah, as Samidoun were declared as a terrorist organization by the state of Israel, and then uh, many Zionist ministers have sent official letters uh, to Belgian ministers requesting from them to ban Samidoun and to expel me from Belgium. So literally what they are doing, they are just obeying a demands coming from a criminal state that the head of this state is wanted today by the Human Rights Court of Justice. I am not wanted by anyone else. Netanyahu is wanted, Ben Gvir is wanted, the Israeli government is wanted, and anyone who supported should be wanted and should be held accountable for their actions.
But at the same time, UNRWA is being punished, or NICAP, or all cultural organizations, people who speak out are being punished. So the governments are doing basically opposite of what the population is demanding.
And that's why they should be defeated. That's why Arizona government shouldn't be exist, because as the Zionist state of Israel is a danger of the Palestinian people, Arizona government is a danger of the Belgian people and the Belgian society. It's a racist government that's attacking workers, attacking old people, attacking young people, attacking students, attacking refugees, taking rights, practicing repression, supporting police violence. This is the government we live in, and it's a dangerous moment.
Yeah. Maybe that's a question about tactics or strategy. How should we go about? Because we had 14 demonstrations since to the 2023, two very large ones for Belgian norms. There's been calls for BDS, boycott, disinvestment, sanctions. Today in Leuven there was a protest with the opening of the university. There have been protests against Elbit and or by workers in the harbor in Antwerp. There's a flotilla, all kinds of initiatives, but it's not enough. What needs to be done?
To continue this mobilization, to escalate this mobilization, to occupy Elbit factories, to do civil disobedience actions, to not let this repression manage to scare us. We are on the right side of history. The Zionist movement lost the battle on narrative. Today, if you ask children, if you ask youth, if you ask any member of the Belgian society or people in general, they know the truth. They don't support colonialism. No one wants to be affiliated with genocide. So we should continue this path. This mobilization, all events and all initiatives you mentioned, that they are playing a very important and essential role on creating a pressure on those governments to take a step back from the Zionist state of Israel. And we see the result of this, of course, is very slow. It's not on the level of the blood and suffering of the Palestinian people. But I think, again, we should reach out to the Palestinian resistance. We should normalize the Palestinian resistance as a leadership while the boycotting the Zionist state of Israel. We should visit the Palestinian refugee camps. If we cannot go to Gaza, we go to the West Bank. If we cannot go to the West Bank, we go to Haifa. If we cannot go to Haifa, we should go to the refugee camps in Lebanon. If we cannot, we should go to Jordan. We should make noise not only about the Zionist state of Israel, but all those countries and states and officials who are complicit in this genocide. We shouldn't only campaign about Netanyahu, but also we should include in Belgium part de Waver. We should include all those politicians who are really investing in this genocide, even in an economical way. Those people should know that they will be held accountable. If not now, in the future, we should strengthen the Palestinian community in the diaspora to play its role back and to be part in the liberation movement, not in the solidarity movement. We Palestinians in Europe, in North America, in South America, in the diaspora, we are not in solidarity with the people of Gaza. We are the people of Gaza. We are part of this Palestinian society because we are the most one who are facing repression. We are the ones who are paying the price of this occupation, and that's why we are here as refugees, not even migrants. We are undocumented people. We are stateless people. So these Palestinian refugees who are mobilizing for Palestine, who are willing to be part of this struggle, we should support them. We should support and advocate not only for the Palestinian political prisoners in the Zionist state of Israel prisons, but in European prisons inside Europe. We should bring back the battle against Zionism in Europe. The Zionist movement is a white Western colonial movement, was established in Basel, in Brussels, in Paris, in London, not in Haifa, not in Jaffa, not in Safad and Ramallah or Gaza. The Palestinian people took their historical mission to defeat colonialism and to be in the first front of fighting imperialism, capitalism, and colonialism by all means, and to pay the price for this, to keep the struggle internationally going on. We, as people who live in the West, people who live in the belly of the beast, we should take up our role to defeat Zionism in its birthplace. This is the birthplace of this Nazi, racist, colonialist movement. And to do this not only for the sake of the Palestinian people, but knowing that defeating Zionism in Europe and colonialism in Europe, this is a victory for the Palestinian people, for the Congolese people, for the Sudani people, for the Kurdish people, and for every single community and indigenous community around the world struggling for liberation against colonization. And we should make sure from Europe to make an inter-European huge conference to say from now on, no colonization. Because colonization is a European crisis. Zionism is a European crisis. Creating these coalitions to go bomb Yemen and to go bomb Iraq and to make the Afghan people refugees, it's a European white supremacist American movement. This movement should be defeated and dismantled. The people of the world are taking their part of struggling locally. We have to take our part to struggle here, not only to be in solidarity with these people, but to defeat our system here and the power here that is leading this movement. Every single weapon is developed in Palestine or used in Palestine today to kill children and youth and journalists and the trees and to houses, whatever. This is produced in Europe. This is produced in the US. There is contribution for ULB and VUB and KU Leuven in this. And I think since we are speaking about countries, as we mentioned, they led the colonial movement in the world. We are not here as Palestinian people in 2025 to educate Belgian people what colonialism is. Or massacres against people. 16 million Congolese were killed, right? We are not here as Palestinians to educate Dutch and Flemish-speaking people about what is apartheid. Apartheid, it's a Flemish word. It's a Dutch word. It's not an Arabic word. It's not even translated. So we do believe that people are not stupid. And people knows. People need to be engaged in the struggle. And for what? We are accused in Belgium or in Europe or in the West, the solidarity movement for Palestine or the Palestinian people and the community, that we advocate for violence or we create violence by supporting the resistance or the right of the Palestinian people for liberation. But what they miss here, that us as Palestinians and solidarity movement in Belgium struggling against colonization and saying that the Belgian state shouldn't be complicit in the genocide. Again, this is not because we care only about the Palestinian people. This is because we care about our society in Belgium. And we wish and we struggle for a future society that is not sick because of its complicity in genocide. Why our kids in another 20 years have to be or to grow up in a society with the feeling this guilt of being part of genocide? I think it's a very important momentum that the Palestinian people created for all of us after the 7th of October for any society or a state or whatever to be on the right side of history, and it's a way also to clean our past, to create a better future and a different future that is disassociated from colonialism, racism, Zionism, supremacy, and all those forms of racism and fascism in a time when Islamophobia is growing. Members in the Belgian government feel free to attack Muslim people, and it's literally as what happens a few years ago, a few decades ago, against the Jewish people and other vulnerable people in Europe. We learn from that history and we will never let it happen.
If you talk about the future, what does it mean for your personal future that your status has been revoked? Can you stay in Belgium?
I mean, since I am stateless, so they cannot, or so-called stateless, they cannot deport me anywhere. So I will stay in Belgium. I mean, I will stay as undocumented in Belgium. I will struggle against this, also revoking my documents. I'm doing appeal. I'm not letting this happens, because if this happens against me, they can use it in the future against any Palestinian, against any activist and so on, or any refugee. We shouldn't let this racist and fascist laws pass against us. So I will definitely fight back and struggle against this repression. And for us, the future is only free Palestine. I am willing to be deported tomorrow from Belgium, now, this moment, but to Palestine. I am against Oslo. I am anti two-state solution. I believe in a free Palestine from the river to the sea, free society where everyone can live in equality and justice. But if they want to deport me today, they can deport me to Gaza. They can deport me to Rafah. I am from north of Palestine. They are free to deport me to the south of Palestine. And I face the genocide as my people are doing, as I am doing here. So they are free to deport us, but for free Palestine.